My photogenic wife. I've always been a keen photographer, and I dearly wanted to take pictures of my wife, as she has a really fantastic figure, but alas, she's always refused. An old friend of mine came to stay with us for a fortnight, and Ratna seemed to take quite a shine to him. 2 days before he was due to leave us, he brought home a present for Ratna. It was a very see-through nightie in black silk. She was thrilled with her present, and jokingly I suggested that she put it on and model it for us, adding that I'd take some photos. To my sheer amazement, she agreed and disappeared into the bedroom. I couldn't believe that she would go through with it, but I set up my photographic equipment all the same. She came in looking stunning, but I noticed that she was revealing too much beneath the nightie. Nakul told her how stunning she looked, and I took a few photos as she turned around, posing. I think she was getting quite a thrill from showing off her body to both of us, and struck some rather suggestive poses. It was Nakul who commented that the photos would be that much better if she would only wear the nightie and nothing else. I really expected Ratna to be offended, but instead she agreed and said that if we turned our backs, she'd do it. With our backs turned, we heard the rustles as she made changes and wore only the nightie. Then she asked us how she looked. We both turned round, and my mouth dropped as I saw my wife posing in front of us. I could see her clearly through the sheer material, also the outline of her complete body. I could hear Nakul gasp as he took in her loveliness, and though she was blushing, there was a mischievous gleam in her eyes. I took some more photos and then suggested that she should have a few photos taken with Nakul for him to take home as a souvenir of his visit. To my amazement, she agreed and sat down on his lap, her head resting on his shoulder. The nightie had fallen open and her legs and belly were completely exposed as I took some more photos. I saw his hand move, and then it was resting over her body. She wriggled but didn't open her eyes, even though it was obvious to me what Nakul was doing. I was shaking with excitement, and I continued taking photos. He looked at me and, seeing that I was taking photos and seemingly not bothered about what he was doing to my wife, he bent his head and removed the nightie. She moaned and I saw her shivering, but she did nothing to stop him. I don't know how I managed to control myself enough to keep on clicking away, but I did as he sank to his knees. She was very loud as he started teasing her. Meanwhile, he'd taken his clothes off. She raised her arms around his shoulders, pulling him closer. From the expression on her face, I could see that she was loving what Nakul was doing. Recovering a bit, I started clicking away, capturing on film my wife's unfaithfulness. Her nails clawed his back as her legs circled his waist. I couldn't stand it any longer, and off came my trousers. I slipped out of the rest of my clothes just as speedily, and when he withdrew, I was like a man possessed. I could have only lasted 2 minutes or so. Gasping for breath, I withdrew and stood up, intending to get myself a drink. I poured a generous measure of scotch, and when I turned around, I was amazed to see that they were at it again. Quickly, I grabbed the camera and started clicking away. I could hear the squelching noises. I hoped the camera would capture the thrilling sight. I kept clicking away while my wife begged him, yelling that she was done. He lasted a very long time. She collapsed on the carpet. I took some really good shots of this. We were all exhausted by that time, so we called it a night. But, to my immense surprise, she joined Nakul in his bed and I slept alone. I was too tired to mind and was asleep in seconds. I woke up in the morning to strange sounds, and when I went to investigate, I found my wife and Nakul at it again. I left them at it and went downstairs and made us all breakfast, amazed that I was so casual about another man fucking my wife and she being so eager. They came down a while later and ate the breakfast I prepared. The photos are fantastic and so good that when Ratna and I looked at them, we ended up making love. She is now so keen on posing that I've invited a number of sexy men around to pose with her and then, of course, do her silly while I look on.